Sam continues to struggle with his newfound gifts. He hasn't even had time to process them. Meanwhile, Tate has fully embraced his new mission. This week, those struggles come to a head. I'm your narrator, Chad, and this is episode 19, chapter 23 of No Evil. Let's escape. In an instant, he was in his own apartment. Sam could hear screaming outside his window and the sound of feet pounding on pavement. He could smell smoke and worried the building might be on fire. He ran to the window. Out on the street, dozens of people shuffled by. Their faces were bloody, and they walked in a strange gait, each of them seemingly hanging in the air like a puppet from a streak of red light. Sam could see the streaks of light across the city. New lines rose up all the time. They were as bright as lasers, but moved in wriggling lines like tentacles. Every one of the tentacles arced high in the air, and they each led to the same place and melded into one great column of light across town. The carnage was already far worse than Sam had seen on TV. The number of people joining the riot was growing exponentially, and each of them seemed connected to the light. Sam returned his attention to the building. Seeing no signs of fire out his window, Sam moved to his door and felt the handle. It was cool to the touch. Sam thrust open the door and used the stairs. Each landing had a window facing the street, and Sam could see the focused light column edging closer. He picked up the pace and took 2 steps, and 3 at a time. He reached the bottom and charged through the door. Chloe?
Shit. Munson?
Her mother was laying on the floor in the middle of the foyer. They'd been taking every magazine and every piece of furniture they owned and piling it in front of the door. A dozen or more people were banging on the door outside. Yeah, it's me. What happened? Sam said.
Stay away from us, Munson. Stay away, murderer.
Chloe said as she spread her body across her mother in a move to shield her from Sam. I didn't... What happened to her?
Sam, is this real?
Mrs. Angelus spoke up. Yes, it's me. Yes, it's real.
Mom, no. He's a bad man. You heard the news. Rest now. Save your strength.
For what? For death? I am not thinking so,
She said with fire. She pushed Chloe gently to the side, and Sam knelt beside her. She reached out to him with wrinkled hand and worn ring. Sam froze there, staring at the hand clutching at the air and beckoning him forward.
I see the demon in you,
She said. Then she rested her head back down on the floor and closed her eyes. Sam knew she was gone. He couldn't get the image of the hand out of his head. The sound of the breaking glass snapped him back from the memory. Chloe held a hand in front of her mother's mouth. Feeling nothing, she placed 2 fingers on her neck and searched for a pulse. There was nothing.
She's gone,
Chloe said. She collapsed to her side and lay with her mother crying. The smashing at the door grew louder, and Sam could see men pushing through an opening in the outside door. Just one set of glass doors, a pile of magazines, and a couch separated them from the street. The light tentacles wriggled like a nest of snakes between the doors as more and more people forced their way in. They were shoulder to shoulder and continued to pack themselves in. That door's gonna smash open any minute. Let's go, Chloe.
She's gone. Keep away from us.
Chloe, you're right. She's gone. You can't do anything else for her. You need to trust me. Come with me. Chloe reached into the back of her pants and pulled out a revolver. She pointed it at Sam. Wait. Chloe put the gun away. Sam took a step back. Chloe focused the gun on the door. Still more people pushed through until they were crushing each other. Some fell to the floor, but others kept on packing in. They stepped on the fallen without any emotion and pressed forward. A loud pop shook Sam, and he was certain Chloe had fired the gun. But then a long crack formed in the glass, and bodies began pouring in. The bodies at the front of the pile sagged and toppled limply into the room. Others stepped on the faces of the fallen to pull themselves through. Sam watched as those getting stepped on rose up without any effort and pressed forward. Let's go, Sam pleaded. Chloe raised the gun to her temple and fired once, shattering her skull into red mist. Sam turned and told himself to not look back. He bolted for the stairs and ran until his lungs burned. He turned a corner and sat. He could hear the echoing parade of clumsy footsteps following behind. Sam focused hard on the SUV, on the front seat, on Case, until he could hear only an engine. The SUV was parked on the side of the road when Sam arrived inside of it. He was alone. In clear weather, the headlights would have illuminated a fair distance, but the snow had picked up, and Sam could barely see Case and the others outside. The swirling snow was mesmerizing, and Sam closed his eyes to collect himself. The sound of a lone gunshot repeated in his mind. He could still see the red mist, and how it painted the carpet behind Chloe. Despair hit him like a punch in the gut. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't connect the dots. In the confusion, he nearly forgot Mrs. Angelus and her hand were the source of his nightmares. Now he had a whole catalog of shit he wished he could forget. If life ever got back to normal, Sam thought he'd never sleep again anyway. He opened his eyes. Collecting himself was a lost cause. Sam was a mess. Case was pacing outside when he noticed Sam in the front seat. He jogged to the SUV, opened the door, and got in. Andre and Jan followed.
"Did you get them? Did you see them?"
Case said. "No," Sam said. It was all he could manage. "We've been waiting here. We didn't know what else to do," Jan said from behind him. "Ended up at my apartment. I just all of a sudden felt like I had to go home," Sam said.
"So, what? You just left us when you knew I was rushing home to get my family?"
Case said. "I don't know, Case. I just had to."
"You had to? You? What the hell do you have to go home to? I need to get my kids, my wife. You could get them, but you won't."
Case said. He balled his fists tightly.
"Now you got me waiting by the side of the road while you jaunt off home. You say you had to?"
"Case, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for you to wait here. I'm not even sure I can fully control this. Do you really want to risk your family?"
"You're the one risking my family."
Sam felt the anger building inside him. It intensified and burned hotly in his stomach as he looked at Case. He turned to Jan, and the anger dissipated. He could feel her anxiety and fear. Sam realized they weren't his emotions at all. It was Case's feelings that propelled him home.
"Okay." "Okay what?"
"I'll go. I'll try." Case sat silently for a moment. Then he reached one hand to Sam's shoulder, clapped it and squeezed. Sam recognized it as both a gesture of gratitude and as an apology.
"I can't lose them,"
Case said remorsefully. "I know, Case. But it's worse than we saw. It's something bigger, and I don't know what. I think it's controlling people." "Controlling people?" Jan said. Sam ignored the question. "I don't know if it's safe to drive to your house anymore. You head back to the cabin. I'll go and I'll meet you back there. I might even beat you." "Sam, we already talked about this. You shouldn't go alone. The riot's on the other side of the city. We should be fine," Jan said. "It's no riot. I'm not sure we'll even be able to get there in time by driving. Just head back. From what I saw, the city could be overrun by dawn." "What?" Andre said. "We have to move then. Let's go." "I said go back to the cabin. I don't want to be responsible for all of you, and Case's family too. It's too risky."
What if you did what you did before? What if you sent the whole truck? Would that be easier?"
Case said. "I don't know. I think
For me. Do it for me,"
Case said. Sam sank into the seat and took a deep breath. He wanted to say no, but he couldn't. He wanted to disappear. He wanted to be anywhere but back in the city. Clearing his mind seemed impossible, but he pushed through. He gripped the handrest. One more deep breath and Sam pictured Case's driveway. He called up memories of barbecues and hockey and drinks. Everything about their friendship was packed into a ball in his mind, and in crept the hand. Without warning, the image of the hand hanging in the air burst into his mind's eye. Wrinkles and cracks and hanging rings replaced fond memories. A second later, the SUV and everyone inside of it was in the foyer of Sam's apartment. The vehicle was angled as if it was resting on something. Sam's face was pressed to the window, and he soon realized why. He had left the shuffling horde in the foyer, and now he reappeared right in the middle of them, Bodies were cut in half as the SUV appeared. Several torsos sat on the hood, and Sam could see where the vehicle had sheared them off. Sam tried to prop himself up, but he lost his grip, and his head fell back to the window. The outstretched fingernails of Natalia Angelis scraped along the outside of the passenger window. She was buried under the bodies and under the car. She'd been dead. Sam was sure of it. And now her mouth gaped and her dead eyes glared.
What the hell happened?
Case said.
Look, they're dead, aren't they? They're fucking dead.
Case locked the doors as the SUV rocked back and forth on waves of corpses.
They're trying to get up,
Sam said. Why are we here again? Andre said as he tumbled around in the back seat.
Shit. I told you I didn't know if I could control it,
Sam said.
Point taken.
The windshield was smeared with blood, but through it Sam saw an intense light approach the front door. The writhing underneath the SUV stopped. A short man with red hair and a brown suit strolled in. A wide column of light protruded from the top of his head. He was followed by an older version of himself, with sunken eyes, and then by a man and a woman who looked long dead. The red-haired man stretched out his arms as if to give the room a hug. Then the SUV rose in the air, and the bodies underneath it crawled out. The torsos on the hood fell to the ground and continued to twitch.
Welcome.
The shrill voice pierced the silence and rang loudly inside Sam's head. He saw the others wince as well. They exchanged an all-too-familiar look, a combination of shock and fear.
Well, come on then. Out with you lot.
The older version of the red-haired man said.
Don't worry. My disciples won't hurt you.
The unspoken words wavered between whisper and shout as if someone was turning a volume knob and attempting to balance the sound.
Come on out,
the old man repeated. Sam opened his door first, and the others followed. The column of light was immense, but he seemed to be the only one seeing it. Case's gaze was trained on the strangers in front of them, but Sam couldn't help goggling at the light above.
Who are you?
Sam finally said.
This is my boy Tate. I'm Kahir.
Sam had never heard the name before. It sounded like Kahir. The room was strangely quiet for a moment as they assessed each other.
Do you have any idea what's happening?
Jan said. At this the two men laughed, and inside Tate's mouth they could see there was nothing but hollowed darkness. It looked like his tongue and teeth had been scooped out. Jan covered her ears as the bleeding chuckle sprang from the ether.
Oh yes.
We're here to talk to you about God.
Sam was still transfixed on the light. Then he saw movement behind Tate. He realized the column wasn't coming from him at all. A head bobbed just past the top of his shoulder, and a clawed hand gripped tightly to his neck. We should get out of here, Andre said. Fires
No
are...
need to be in a hurry, my boy. No need. God has shown us the path.
Which God?
Shut up, Andre. Sorry, this is awkward.
Insolent.
The bobbing head behind Tate's shoulder pushed itself up in the air, and it floated in the light above him. It had the facial construction of a prehistoric fish. The eyes glowed in a different shade of red. It was almost yellow, even through his red vision. The thing extended a hand toward Andre. Snake-like appendages danced wildly on each arm. It floundered in the air above Tate's head with two legs digging into him, the chest open, showing dozens of kneading fingers with bulbous joints. The sound appeared to be directed at Andre alone, and he dropped to his knees. The squealing mule tore through his brain. It felt like barbed wire twisting tight with sound. Jan crouched by his side.
What's happening to him?
Case said. He joined Jan at Andre's side.
We don't want it to go this way, you see. We're here to extend an invitation to you,
Kahir said.
Yeah, well, we're busy. We can't come to your birthday,
Case said.
Don't joke about the Lord.
Case and Jan, forced by the sound, joined Andre on the floor. Sam heard the words, but they didn't seem to affect him like the others. He couldn't look away from the thing floating in the air in front of him. Every time the older man spoke, it would sprout a tentacle and drive it into his back. Its shape was grotesquely fluid. Its head, changed orientation constantly. "Stop this," Sam said. He finally clicked back to reality. "Stop." He speaks," Kahir said with a bow. He fluttered his hand as if introducing a king. "What do you want?"
You join us.
Case, Andre, and Jan pushed woozily to their knees as the voice settled back to tolerable volume. "Join you in what?"
Don't you see her, Sam? Look around. Look outside. Look at the state of the world. War, poverty, drugs, drink. It's all gone to hell. Straight to hell. And you know what happens next?
We all have a good time? And hey, how do you know my name?
We know more than that. You shouldn't treat this flippantly, boy. You shouldn't. Because Armageddon is serious business,"
he said. He spoke with such severity that a spray of saliva coated his chin. He wiped it away. Yeah, I guess Buscemi had his moments in that one. This appeared to be the last straw for Kahir as he stomped one foot towards Sam. He marched to the other side of the room and halted as Tate extended his hand across Kahir's chest and motioned for him to stay put.
Do you believe in God?
I'm not sure what to believe.
I do. You should. I've seen what you can do. We're chosen.
Sam's eyes traced from Tate to the monstrosity above him.
"I think you're mistaken. Agnostic, are you? Or atheist? Pitiful, just pitiful. Touched by God, and even then you can't feel him,"
Kahir said. His face grew bright red.
"Fuck. I'm not joking around anymore. I'm serious. You're mistaken. This thing," he said, glancing up again, "it's not your God."
What is it you keep looking at?
Something I wish I could unsee. You. You're not chosen. You're just another goddamn sinner, aren't you? Kahir said. He marched back and forth. You, Tate, you're true. This man, he's the devil's ally. Just another sodomizing, pilfering pest on the earth.
7. You said there were 7.
Never mind that. He's in league with the beast. I'm telling you, you're not seeing the whole picture. This isn't some biblical cleansing. And would you recognize it if it were? You wouldn't know scripture from a goddamn stew recipe, Kahir said with vitriol. You need to accept it. You need to follow us or not. Just what is it you intend to do?
We're meant to judge.
Judge?
Between who will ascend and who will be delivered to perdition.
Delivered how? I think you know, my boy. Kahir smiled. He motioned to the horde, who were standing in a group, arms hanging flaccidly. Sam turned back to Case. They shared the same feeling. You know, he said, edging closer to Case and without looking back, I think I'll have to pass. You won't, Kahir said. You'll join us one way or the other. Sam, look out! A table sailed across the room, striking Sam across his back. He tumbled forward into the group and Case caught him, but the table landed across the four of them. Sam pushed it up, rolled to his back and off of Case. Then the table rose in the air and disintegrated into sawdust. Sam got to his feet. Stop this. This is insane, he said.
Die, die, die.
The words were focused at Sam and rang loudly in his ears, but he felt no pain. Tate extended his hands out and snarled at Sam. The walls began to shake, and glass rattled, but nothing happened. Tate looked at his hands, confused. Sam moved closer to the others again. He just needed one opportunity. He never got it. Behind him, Andre made a guttural, choking noise. Blech! Sam would never forget that noise. Andre was pulled past Sam and floated into the middle of the room. All of the fluid seemed to drain from Andre's body in an instant, and his skin took on the texture of a piece of beef jerky. Then he filled with liquid again. His skin welled up with boils. He was literally boiling from the inside out, and steam rushed from him. Andre reached out to them. Somehow he was still alive. "Jesus, stop this," Sam said. Andre's body suddenly shattered into sand. "No!" Jan cried out. Then she got up and attempted to run at the place where Andre had been. Case grabbed one of her arms. Sam grabbed the other. They could smell popcorn and hear the rev of a microwave. Sam recognized Case's living room and sank to the ground with relief. Case saw he was home and bolted to the kitchen. His wife and children were at the table. She looked worried and ran to him, wrapped her arms around him and squeezed. Case squeezed back. "Get the girls packed. We need to get out of the city, now," he said. "I was so worried. Is it the riot? They've been talking about it on the news nonstop." "Yeah, it's the riot. We need to move quickly." Sam had watched 3 people die in a matter of minutes. There was no preparation for it. There was no textbook on what to do. He felt sick to his stomach from fright and grief. What the hell happened back there? Who was that guy? What was that thing? A horrible realization filled him like a mug full of scalding coffee. From where he was sitting, he could see a mirror. It hung over a mantel filled with Case's memories. In that moment, Sam wished he had what Case had. Instead, all he had was a bad headache and a worse case of the yips. He walked to the mirror. He stood adjacent to it and took a deep breath. He swung his body around in a pivot to face the looking glass, and his fears were justified. Above him was an indistinct shape with protruding blue eyes. They glowed like blue flame. Everything was red except the eyes. The shape appeared to be mostly teeth, but betrayed a hint of scales, although it billowed and rearranged itself so much it was hard to tell. Sam looked into the eyes, and it looked back. I can't believe he's gone," Jan said through tears. Sam's heart had nearly stopped, but Jan's voice was like a defibrillator, and now his pulse bounded with palpitation. Sam grabbed his chest and sat beside Jan on the couch. It had been a dream, all of it. It couldn't happen. It couldn't. No way it could. Not to Sam Munson. Sam Munson was destined to live a boring life. He was destined to die alone in a run-down house, probably drunk off his ass. "Sam, are you okay?" Case said from just outside the kitchen. "Yeah, I'll be fine." He didn't think he would. "Are you gonna be okay? To get us there?" "Yeah." That's all for episode 19, chapter 23 of No Evil. If you're enjoying the podcast, let us know what you think in the comments. Give us a like, a share, a guy named McNair. Do all the social media things. Become an escapist by subscribing and clicking the bell. And you know what else you could do? You could take your dog to see cats and fire up the feisty felines before convincing the canine to crawl through the crowd and hand out flyers featuring feats of felonious fury, or just listen to AV Escapes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the next escape.